I never imagined I'd be telling a story like this. Yet here we are. Let me begin by saying I've lived in Oakwood Heights for nearly 5 years now. The neighborhood itself is pleasant. Manicured lawns, cookie-cutter houses, and the same aesthetic rules that everyone quietly tolerates. That part is fine. I knew exactly what I was signing up for when I purchased my home. What I didn't sign up for was Barbara Thompson, or, as everyone here secretly calls her, Barbzilla, the reigning president of our homeowners association. For 3 years she has ruled the HOA with an iron fist. Mid-50s, always dressed like she's scheduled to meet the Queen of England. Her blonde hair pulled back so tightly it practically grants her a permanent facelift. Her daily hobby? Wandering the neighborhood with clipboard in hand, recording even the tiniest violation she can spot. I'd managed to fly mostly under her radar until recently, when a kitchen slip left me with a herniated disc requiring surgery. Recovery was slow and painful, and my doctor arranged for a visiting nurse to help me 3 times each week with wound care and physical therapy. The trouble began one Tuesday afternoon during a regular visit from my nurse, Sarah. She's amazing, professional, kind, and excellent at her job. Usually she parks in my driveway and stays about an hour. That day, I was halfway through exercises when my doorbell rang repeatedly, like someone determined to break the button. I hobbled over, still aching, and opened the door. There stood Barbara, clipboard gripped tightly, her scowl sharp enough to curdle milk. "Excuse me," she announced, her tone anything but excusing. "There's an unauthorized vehicle in your driveway." Confused, I explained, "That's my nurse's car. She's here to help me recover from back surgery." Her eyebrows shot so high they nearly vanished into her hairline. According to HOA Regulation 7.4.2, no commercial vehicles are permitted in residential driveways during daylight hours. I forced myself to breathe calmly. "Barbara, it's not a commercial vehicle. It's her personal car. She's a medical professional providing necessary care." With a triumphant smirk, she countered, "It has a small logo on the door for her healthcare company. That makes it commercial. She needs to move it immediately, or you'll be fined $100 per day." At that moment, Sarah appeared, concerned by the raised voices. "Is everything okay?" she asked. Before I could answer, Barbara turned on her with a condescending tone. "You need to move your vehicle right now. You're in violation of HOA regulations." Sarah, ever the professional, smiled politely. "I'm in the middle of providing medical care to my patient. I'll be done in about 30 minutes and then I'll be gone." Barbara's face flushed an alarming shade of red. "I don't care what you're doing. Rules are rules. Move it now, or I'm calling a tow truck." That was enough for me. "Barbara, please be reasonable. Sarah is helping me recover from surgery. She'll be gone soon." "Reasonable?" Barbara sputtered, her voice rising to a pitch only dogs could clearly hear. "I am being perfectly reasonable. Rules apply to everyone. No exceptions." I reminded her the HOA bylaws explicitly listed exemptions for medical care providers, something I had checked in advance. She wasn't interested. Without another word, she spun on her heel, stomping off my porch while dialing her phone. Sarah turned to me, clearly worried. "Should I move my car?" "I don't want to cause trouble for you." "Absolutely not," I assured her. "You're providing medical care, and you're legally allowed to be here. Let's continue therapy." 15 minutes later, the unmistakable rumble of a tow truck echoed up my driveway. I could hardly believe Barbara had actually called one. I hurried outside, back screaming in protest, just in time to see a burly driver hooking up Sarah's car. Barbara stood nearby, arms folded, wearing a smug smile. "Stop!" I shouted, wincing at the sudden movement. "You can't tow this vehicle. It belongs to a medical professional currently providing care." The driver hesitated, glancing between us. "Lady said it's an unauthorized commercial vehicle," he shrugged. "It's my nurse's car," I explained firmly. "She's inside right now helping me recover from back surgery." "Check the bylaws. Section 12.3 states healthcare workers actively providing in-home care are exempt from parking restrictions." Barbara scoffed. "That's ridiculous. There's no such exemption, but I was ready. After surgery, I had printed that very clause, expecting trouble. I asked the driver to wait, retrieved the document, and handed it to him. He read carefully, then nodded. "Yep, says right here medical professionals are exempt while providing care." He began unhooking Sarah's car. "Sorry for the trouble, man, Barbara snatched the paper, reading with growing fury. "This must be outdated," she shrilled. "It was approved before you became president, Barbara. It's been in the bylaws for years," I said evenly. Clearly uncomfortable, the tow driver climbed back into his truck. "Look, I can't tow a vehicle that's legally parked according to your rules. Call again if you sort it out." With that, he drove away. I thought it was over. I was wrong. Barbara's face twisted with rage as the truck disappeared. "This isn't over," she hissed before storming down the street. Inside, drained but trying to reassure Sarah, I muttered, "Don't worry, she's all bark and no bite." How wrong I was. When Sarah returned 2 days later, Barbara was waiting. She'd set up a lawn chair across from my house like she was watching a show. The second Sarah parked, Barbara marched forward, clipboard ready. I opened the door before she could ring. "Barbara, we've already been through this. Sarah is allowed to park here while providing medical care." Ignoring me, she smirked at Sarah. "I checked the bylaws more carefully. While healthcare workers are exempt from the commercial vehicle restriction, they are not exempt from the visitor parking time limit of 45 minutes. Your sessions last an hour. That's a violation." I couldn't believe it. "Barbara, are you seriously nitpicking over 15 minutes? This is medical care!" Her answer was predictable. Rules are rules. Apparently, exceeding the time limit by even 15 minutes still counted as a violation. Sarah, bless her, remained composed. "Mrs. Thompson, I understand your dedication to the rules," she said evenly. "But my patient's recovery requires completing the full therapy session. Cutting it short could set back his healing." Barbara's response was cold. "Not my concern. You get 45 minutes, no more. Otherwise, you'll be towed." She raised her phone. "I've got the tow company on speed dial." I was ready to argue, but Sarah placed a calming hand on my arm. "Let's go inside and start your therapy," she whispered. "Getting worked up won't help your recovery." She was right, of course, so I reluctantly followed her back in. Still, it was nearly impossible to focus on my exercises, knowing Barbara was perched outside like a vulture. 40 minutes later, the doorbell rang again. When I answered, Barbara stood there tapping her watch. 5 minutes left," she announced with thinly veiled delight. "That's when my patient snapped. Barbara, this is harassment. You're interfering with medical treatment, and that could very well be illegal." Her eyes widened for an instant, then hardened. "Don't threaten me. I'm simply upholding the rules everyone agreed to." "I'm not threatening you," I replied, forcing my tone to stay level. "I'm informing you. If Sarah's session is cut short and my recovery suffers, that's medical interference." Barbara scoffed and retreated, but only as far as her lawn chair. She stayed put, watching. When Sarah finished the full hour, Barbara was immediately back at my door, phone in hand. "That's it," she declared triumphantly. "The tow truck is on its way and you'll be fined." This time, Sarah stepped forward. "Mrs. Thompson, I need to make it clear. Interfering with prescribed medical care carries serious legal consequences. I've documented this and your prior behavior in my patient's medical record." Barbara faltered, but quickly tried to recover. "You can't scare me with empty threats. I know my rights as HOA president." What she didn't know was that Sarah had, in fact, documented everything. Photos of Barbara's stakeouts, audio recordings of our exchanges, with my permission, and reports sent to her supervisor, who had already contacted the company's legal department. When the tow truck arrived, Sarah calmly approached the driver, presenting official documentation from her healthcare company. It explained that obstructing medical care could be considered a criminal act in our state. The driver wisely refused to tow and left. Barbara was livid. "This is ridiculous. You can't just ignore the rules because you think you're special." "Actually, Barbara," I said, finally done with her, "medical necessity takes precedence over HOA rules. You might want to consult a lawyer before continuing this crusade." "Fine," she snapped. "If that's how you want to play it, I will." The next few days passed blissfully free of Barbara. I hoped she'd realize the legal danger she was flirting with, but Monday proved otherwise. When Sarah arrived for my session, Barbara had escalated. She'd enlisted 2 other board members, and together they waited at the curb. As Sarah walked up the driveway, Barbara physically blocked her path. "You're trespassing on HOA property," she announced loudly, though it was clearly my private property. "You need to leave immediately." Sarah tried to step past her. "Ma'am, I'm here to provide medical care to my patient. Please step aside." Then Barbara did the unthinkable. She shoved Sarah back by the shoulders. "I said you're not welcome during business hours. Leave now." From my window, I saw it all. I grabbed my phone and dialed 911. "Hello? I need to report an assault. The president of my HOA just physically pushed my healthcare nurse and is blocking her from entering to provide medical treatment." The dispatcher promised officers were on their way. Meanwhile, Sarah, calm as ever, recorded the entire confrontation on her phone. The two board members, alarmed, quickly distanced themselves from Barbara's actions. "Barbara!" I called from the doorway. "The police are on their way. You just assaulted a healthcare worker and interfered with medical treatment. Leave my property now." Her face blanched. "The police? That's absurd. I'm enforcing HOA rules. You can't call the police for that." "I didn't," I clarified. "I called because you assaulted Sarah. That's a crime, Barbara. HOA regulations don't grant you the right to put your hands on people." She turned to the board members for support, but they were already scurrying home. Alone, her bravado wavered. "I was just doing my job," she insisted weakly. Minutes later, the officers arrived. Sarah and I both gave statements, along with the video evidence. The officers listened, unimpressed with Barbara's excuses. "Ma'am," one officer said, "do you understand that interfering with medical professionals is a serious offense, and assault under any circumstances is a crime?" Barbara's face drained of color. "But I'm the HOA president," she repeated, as though it granted immunity. "That may be," the officer replied, "but it doesn't give you the right to touch anyone or stop them from doing their job, especially when that job involves medical care." To my surprise, and I admit satisfaction, they informed her she was under arrest for simple assault and for interfering with medical care, a separate offense carrying significant penalties. As they read her rights and led her to the squad car, her carefully polished image cracked. In handcuffs, she cried out, "This is outrageous! Do you know how much I've done for this community? I was just enforcing the rules." The fallout came quickly. Barbara was charged with misdemeanor assault, punishable by up to a year in jail, and with interfering in medical care, a felony in our state with potential prison time of 1 to 6 years and fines up to $3,000. Though she was released on bail, the judge issued a restraining order keeping her 50 feet away from both Sarah and me. At the emergency HOA meeting the following week, Barbara appeared utterly diminished, limp hair, wrinkled clothes, no trace of her usual smugness. When the board voted unanimously to remove her as president, her face fell in disbelief. "You can't do this to me," she whispered, her voice cracking. "This is my community. I built it. I protected it." But as the gavel struck, sealing her removal, the look of devastation on Barbara's face said everything. Her reign of terror was finally over.